This tutorial is for 4th grade, Module 5, Lesson 23. In this lesson, we're going to look at how fractions relate to whole numbers. The directions say circle the fractions that are equivalent to a whole number. Record the whole number below the fractions. We're going to start by counting by 1/3, and we're starting at 0/3 and ending at 6/3. So I'm going to start by just writing my fractions first. So I have 0/3, 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3, and 6/3. And again, we need to circle the fractions that are equivalent to a whole number. You can see that 0/3 has been circled. It's equivalent to 0, and 0 is a whole number. The next whole number would be 1 whole. Well, the 1 whole would be the same as 3/3. It takes 3 to make a whole. I have 3/3. So 3/3 is the same as 1 whole. The next whole would be 6/3. That's the same as 2 wholes. I'm going to do the same thing on question B. This time I'm going to count by halves, and I'm going to end at 8 halves. So there's my list of halves going up to 8 halves. And again, I'm going to circle the fractions that would be equivalent to whole numbers. I'll start with 0 halves because that's the same thing as 0. Then I'm going to jump to 2 halves. That's the same thing as 1 whole. It takes 2 to make a whole, and I have 2. The next whole number would be at 4 halves. It takes 2 to make a whole. I have 4 of them, so that's 2 wholes. The next number would be 6 halves. 6 halves is the same as 3 wholes. And the last one is 8 halves. 8 halves is the same as 4 wholes. In the next section, it says use parentheses to show how to make ones in the following number sentence. And you can see we have a whole bunch of 1/4 that we've added together to get 3 wholes. Well, since they're fourths, I know it takes 4 to make a whole. So I'm just going to group 4 groups of 1/4. So here I have a section. There's 4/4 in that section. That's the same as 1 whole. And then I'll group another section of 4/4. That would be equal now to 2 wholes. And my last group of 4/4 shows how I have a total of 3 wholes. In the next section, we're going to show how we can multiply on the number line with our fractions. The first problem's been done for us. It is 6 times 1/3, and it equals 2 wholes. You can see that we have 2 hops, and each hop represents 3 groups of 1/3. So I have 3 groups of 1/3 here, and 3 groups of 1/3 here. That's a total of 6 groups of 1/3, or 6 times 1/3. Since the first hop was 3 groups of 1/3, that landed at 1 whole. And then the second hop of 3 groups of 1/3 landed at 2 wholes. That's why 6 times 1/3 equals 2 wholes. Okay, now let's do one down here. This time we have 6 groups of 1/2. So if I start at 0, since I'm working with halves, I know that it takes 2 halves to make a whole. So my first jump is going to be 2 times 1/2, because that's going to land me at 1 whole. And I'm going to show my halves. So here I have 2 groups of 1/2. That put me at 1 whole. Well, I need 6 groups of 1/2 altogether, so I need to keep going. I'm going to do another hop that shows 2 groups of 1/2. That will land me at 2 wholes. And there's my second group showing 2 groups of 1/2. Now, so far, I've done 4 groups of 1/2. I need to do 2 more groups of 1/2 to get my 6 groups all together. That one will land me at 3. And there's my 2 halves that get me to 3. So altogether, I've done 6 groups of 1/2. 6 times 1/2 is the same as 3. We're going to do the same thing in the next section, only this time you're going to see that we'll end up with mixed numerals as our final answer. So I have 7 copies of 1/2. That's the same thing as 7 times 1/2. And we'll show that on the number line. So I need a total of 7 groups of 1/2. Again, I'm going to start at 0. Since we're working with halves, I know that it takes 2 to equal 1 whole. So I'm going to do a jump of 2 times 1/2 to get me to 1 whole. Then I'll do another jump of 2 times 1/2. That will get me to 2 wholes. Well, so far I've done 4 groups of 1/2. I need 7 groups of 1/2, so I'm going to keep going. The next hop is 2 times 1/2, and that will put me at 3 wholes. So far I've done 6 groups of 1/2. I need 7 groups. So now all I need is 1 more half. So if I show where 4 is, or the next whole, I'm going to only jump 1 more half. So that's 1 times 1/2. That puts me at the 3.5 mark on the number line. So 7 copies of 1/2 is the same as 3 1/2. And in problem B, we're going to do the same thing. This time we're taking 10 times 1/4. So I'm going to start at 0. And since I'm working with fourths, it takes 4 to make a whole. So my first jump will be 4 times 1/4. And I'll show those fourths. That puts me at 1 whole. Since I need 10 copies and I've only used 4, I'm going to do another jump of 4. 4 times 1/4 now puts me at 2 wholes. So now I've done 8 times 1/4. I need 2 more fourths. So I'm going to show where the 3 whole mark would be and divide that into fourths. And now I'm only going to jump 2 times 1/4. That would put me at the 2 2/4 point on my number line. So 10 times 1/4 is the same as 2 2/4.